Hello friends, welcome to Tales from the Nebula. If you enjoy the original stories told here, like and subscribe. The Sporesaga Chronicles, Part 2, Whispering Hollow. The Emberroot tree still loomed tall over my chorea, its vast red bark now threaded with lines of healing light and new growth. Yet in its roots a tremble of unease remained. Though the cordyceps swarm had been driven back, the Mold-Mother Ygrith hadn't been destroyed, only banished deeper into the forest's underworld. And worse, the Whispering Hollow, a place where memory and magic entwined, had begun to stir with ancient voices. Thim Thibideau, no longer the recluse of the shadow cap, now served as my chorea's guardian. In the days after the Black Spore War, he worked tirelessly to reinforce the village's defenses and help the council rebuild. Yet his dreams turned restless. Fog crept along the forest floor at dusk, curling like tendrils toward the outer glades. Whispers rose in the mist, echoing the last cry of fallen comrades. When Archspore Tellan collapsed in the hall of Breathmoss, muttering half-coherent warnings, the Council of Rings knew they could no longer wait. Tellan's final words before drifting into a coma were, "She sings in the hollow. The spores remember." Thim assembled a scouting party to journey into the Whispering Hollow, a place he had once dared approach in his youth, but never entered. Joining him were Flickerflit, now tempered but no less fierce. Kirkt, the ant rebel whose loyalty had saved my chorea, and a young novice scout named Pixa Mermella, recently initiated into the Sporkin way. Kirkt's past was one of quiet resilience. Once a soldier in the disciplined Onyx Formica colony, he had risen quickly through the ranks for his intelligence and loyalty. But when the first signs of cordyceps corruption took root in the colony, Kirkt was among the few who questioned their queen's inaction. Branded a traitor and exiled, he fled into the deeper roots, evading hunters and fungal servants alike. It was during his exile that he encountered Thim for the first time, years before the war. Thim, then still a scout, had stumbled into a web trap meant for beetles and found himself pinned by fungal silk. Kirkt, watching from the shadows, saw a fellow creature caught in the same web of forest cruelty. Though ant and sprite were natural strangers, Kirkt cut Thim free with his mandibles and carried him to safety. In return, Thim shared waterlight nectar and news of the world beyond the roots. A strange friendship blossomed over seasons of brief encounters and exchanged aid. In each other, they found something familiar: loss, exile, and a lingering sense of duty. Pixa, barely hatched into her wings, was fearless and bright-eyed, with an uncanny gift for reading mycelium pulses as if they were song. Born in the glowcap cradles at the far edge of my chorea, she was the daughter of dew harvesters and grew up listening to the hum of fungal veins beneath her feet. Unlike other young sprites, she did not crave flight for mischief or freedom, but for listening. She believed the forest spoke in harmonies that only the daring could decipher. As a fledgling, Pixa wandered too far and was lost for a full lunar cycle. When she returned, she spoke of a dreamlike place where spores floated like stars and voices whispered in layered chords. Most dismissed her story as hatchling nonsense, but Sister Siliqua took interest and taught her how to sense and interpret the songs of the mycelial web. Pixa proved a prodigy. She could hear things others could not: the warnings of wilting stalks, the laughter of blooming puffballs, even the grief buried in old root scars. Her gifts made her a natural candidate for scout training, though some in the village thought her too gentle, too dreamy. But Pixa had steel beneath her spores. When the Black Spore War broke out, She volunteered to guide refugees through collapsing tunnels, singing steady tones to calm panicked kin, and reading the safest paths in the tremble of the fungal song. It was Thim who noticed her talent and requested she join the Whispering Hollow expedition. Her bond with the forest, he reasoned, might be the very key to navigating a place ruled by memory and magic. The journey was not merely physical. As they passed into the hollow, the air thickened with memories. The trees grew inverted and sung lullabies of the past. Mushrooms pulsed with light not their own, replaying scenes of history, regret, and prophecy. Time blurred. Thim saw his fallen comrades dancing in the fog. Flickerflit met the ghost of her long-dead sister. Kirkt heard the voices of queens past, both nurturing and wrathful. Yet among these visions, one truth became clear. Ygrith was binding herself to the hollow's memory thread, feeding on sorrow, growing strong not just in body, but in presence. She planned to rethread the forest's very story, to overwrite the past and shape a future where decay ruled and all life bent to fungal will. In a luminous chamber of inverted roots, the group encountered the hollow archivist, a fungal being of immense age who kept the truths of the forest safe. The archivist's form resembled a tapestry of time itself. Its body was a towering weave of bark scrolls and mycelium threads, draped with bioluminescent filaments that pulsed in rhythm with memory. Faces and fragments of voices flickered along its surface, like spores drifting through dreams. It did not move in a traditional sense. Instead, parts of it grew or faded depending on what was asked, what was remembered, and what had been forgotten. Its voice was a choir of tones, a multi-layered spore song that echoed with past utterances from long-forgotten beings. It had no eyes, but a perception so vast it felt like standing beneath the canopy of every tree in the world. The archivist existed beyond allegiance. It remembered joy and rot alike, love and loss with equal care. When it spoke, it did so with neither judgment nor warmth, only the clarity of enduring record. The archivist, neither friend nor foe, offered them a choice: sever the past, destroying the hollow to stop Ygrith's influence, or venture deeper into the forgotten roots and find the first spore, a mythical being whose song once shaped the world's balance. Thim chose the deeper path. Their descent led them through fungal cathedrals and bioluminescent crypts. They faced mirror mimics, spore creatures who wore their faces and spoke their deepest doubts. Pixa proved pivotal, guiding them through emotional currents in the spore song. Kirkt sacrificed part of his memory to unlock the sealed chamber of the first spore. The chamber's gate was bound not by locks or keys, but by the threads of recollection. The archivist warned them. Only a willing offering of lived memory, pure, formative, and unrecoverable, could part the veil that sealed the ancient chamber. Kirkt, without hesitation, stepped forward. He placed his mandibles on a knot of glowing root and closed his eyes. One by one, his memories unraveled into the light, the rhythmic march of his colony, his first time hearing the Queen's voice, the scent of a dew feast, the warmth of loyalty shared with his nest siblings. Most painful of all, he surrendered the moment Thim had first called him friend. Not out of bitterness, but out of love. The chamber responded. The roots glowed gold, and a slow, harmonic tremor echoed through the hollow. The seal lifted. Kirkt stumbled back, dazed. Though he still remembered Thim, the bond no longer held its shape. He could sense the loss, even if he couldn't name it. Thim caught him and steadied him. "You didn't have to." "I did," Kirkt said. "For all of us." Then they entered. There, in silence, lit by a single golden cap, The first spore stirred. Neither plant nor spirit, it spoke not with words but through understanding. It remembered Thim, remembered Ygrith, remembered the moment the balance first cracked. The first spore gifted the party with a fragment of its essence, a seed of renewal, but warned, planting it would erase all tainted memory in the forest, including Thim's legacy and the record of my Coria's survival. Returning to the hollow's center, they found Ygrith's echo manifesting in a great fungal simulacrum, a towering form made from grief and rot. Her body surged with knotted vines, twisted chitin, and fungal blooms shaped like the faces of the fallen. The very air bent with sorrow as she raised her arms and summoned memories like weapons, phantom apparitions of the dead, screaming doubts, and haunting visions of failures long buried. Thim and Flickerflit launched the first assault, dancing between crushing vines and waves of psychic despair. Flickerflit's strikes burned with righteous fury, each blow a flash of defiance. Thim, grounded but unyielding, hurled spore bombs that shattered illusions and revealed the truth beneath Ygrith's magic. But for each wound they inflicted, the Mold-Mother regenerated with the anguish stolen from the hollow's roots. Pixa stood apart, her hands raised in trembling song. She began to weave a melody, not of war, but of remembrance, a thread of music that reminded the forest of love, of joy, of kinship. It weakened Ygrith's hold. The spectres faltered, the illusions dimmed. But the Mold-Mother turned her fury on Pixa, releasing a lash of mold-bound agony that seared across the grove. Kirkt leapt into its path, taking the blow meant for her. With his last strength, he drew the blade Thim had gifted him, etched with dew metal and tipped in the first spore's golden sap. Ygrith screamed, a sound like 1,000 rotting trees falling at once. Kirkt charged through the decay and plunged the blade deep into her core. Light exploded. Not the bright burn of destruction, but the gentle illumination of memory unbound. The simulacrum collapsed. The simulacrum collapsed. The hollow began to heal. But Kirkt fell. Thim buried him beneath a bioluminescent bloom, whispering thanks in the old tongue. They did not plant the seed that day, choosing to hold the memory, to live with pain and learn from it. They returned to my Coria, changed. Flickerflit bore Kirkt's emblem on her armor. Pixa was no longer a novice, but a guide of song, and Thim's eyes held not only wisdom, but peace. The forest breathed easier, but far below, a sliver of rot still pulsed.